There's not one guy, one person in the history of this program that's bigger than the program.
What's better than this? Guys being dudes.
Ooh, what's up and welcome into episode number 37 of the Program Guys podcast. My name is Mason Prince, joined with you by Matt Gann and Mark Hall, missing Patrick Hertzberger and Ryan Tyson this week. Be sure to like and subscribe on our YouTube channel. You can find us at Program Guys Podcast. Be sure to like and follow us on Twitter at Program Guys with a Z, on Instagram, Program Guys with a Z, our Facebook page, Program Guys Podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast. Massive week for the boys last week, guys. Notched about 80 more subs, trying to get to 1,000 subs on YouTube by the end of the year. Really appreciate all the listeners. If you're watching this video on YouTube right now, there's a big chance you are not subscribed. Literally all we need you to do, hit that subscribe button right down there. That's all we need you to do.
Hit it. Gotta hit it.
Matt, Mark, how are we doing? Today is Wednesday, September 21st. The Oklahoma Sooners are 3-0, welcoming in the Kansas State Wildcats on Saturday, 7 o'clock kick in Norman. Boys, how are we doing?
Feeling good. It feels weird that it's just us three today. We're going to make it happen. So that's all you can do.
Yeah, a lot of space, man. We got to talk a little slower, really eat into it a little bit more.
Yeah.
And how do you make up for Ryan T and Patrick the Jennifer Hertzberger? I mean, those are two key guys to the program. So we're just gonna do our best today. We're gonna do our best.
We're gonna try.
We have a segment later where I'll just read the TV guide and we'll try to see if that
exactly.
works.
Let's get started with some OU football news of the week. Some massive news coming out on Tuesday, and it's reported by Brett McMurphy of Action Network, and it's that Bedlam is dead after 2025 or whenever OU joins the SEC, if it's sooner than 2025. So
there are no plans for non-conference Bedlam games to be played.
Yes.
Oklahoma State is saying, quote, "We don't have any openings to play them. We're full." That's according to their AD, Chad Weiberg. And that's a wild thing to say because your non-conference schedule is never too open to include the intrastate rival. You just don't want to.
Yeah.
Because the rewards aren't there.
Yeah.
You're competing for recruits and you're going to lose every game. Why would you want this rivalry to continue?
Yeah. You look at Georgia and Georgia Tech, they're able to do it every year. You look at Clemson, South Carolina, able to do it every year. These teams make it work when they're in other conferences. It's how bad you want to do it. And right now it seems that, in credit, I want to pass a little blame on OU as well. I feel like they're not trying super hard to do it as well. Now, granted, when OSU kind of stops the conversation, it's hard to keep going after that. Like Joe's not going to chase their OSU's AD around. But I wanted to press back. I have a friend who went to OSU and told me today that it does OSU no good to include OU on the schedule because if you lose that game, it hurts OSU's playoff chances. And to that, I say to the OSU fans, you're going to be the best team in the Big 12 with fighting with pretty much Baylor every year. A non-conference loss to OU with a 12-team playoff and you get an automatic berth, 9-3 or 12-1 isn't going to matter if you're Oklahoma State. You're going to get in with a 12-team playoff and you win the conference. A loss to OU does nothing to hurt your resume. That's what I don't get about the OSU argument saying, why would we want to include OU with a chance to lose a big non-conference game? What does it hurt? You could win and it could only help your resume.
Yeah, but
they won't.
I think OSU is a glass half empty kind of group. I'd say to that, though, presumably the game is going to be on rivalry weekend, when Georgia Tech plays, Clemson, South Carolina plays towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
And a loss at that time can send you tumbling a little bit. Let's say OSU comes into that game 10, and they're not going to be much higher than that. Suddenly they're on the outside looking in going into the Big 12 championship game. So a loss in that game, maybe they don't get an at-large bid, just gaming it out.
Yeah.
You're right. They could always go into it and try to win and think that they're going to win a game, but it's tough. It's
going to be hard to beat OU when OU doesn't have a head coach with a foot out the door. So I don't know. We'll find out. Matt, jump in there. What do you think about this, man?
Yeah, it's a little bit sad because at the end of the year, we always look forward to kind of those in-state college rivalry, and we're not just going to be a part of it now. Can we call it a rivalry? Not really. 100 years worth of games, and OU is 90 to 19-7. So is it much? It's very lopsided, right? And even though they got the best of us last year, it was really because of a muff punt. We had a coach with one foot out the door, so we could have easily won that game in OSU, but the last 10 years, it's been OU 8, OSU 2 in the win column. So has it been that much of a rivalry? No, but it's always an exciting game at the end of the year. It usually matters towards the Big 12 and who's going to get into the championship and ultimately win. So surprised they couldn't make it work. There are some, logistics things of playing early in the year versus later in the year, right? Like we usually do, but be interesting to see who or what our schedule is going to look like and moving forward. But it's weird not playing your interstate game every single year. So
one more thought that kind of occurs to me is we're not losing our biggest rivalry game. That's Texas.
Sure.
Oklahoma State is sort of it's always a fun big game, but it's not like the Texas game, right? For Oklahoma State, this is number one.
Yeah.
Isn't it? This is their biggest game of the year. There is no rivalry that rivals it. Weird hill to die on.
I agree.
Wanting to play us based on weird principles that you're just upset about things.
Yeah. I mean, you can be mad about OU leaving the conference. That's fine. But you're going to run the Big 12 with probably Baylor. You're better off. I don't understand why Big 12 teams are still mad. Like, you now with OU and Texas leaving have a better shot at winning your conference. As good of a shot as you've ever had. What good does it do you by the way, this Bedlam game, second longest running rivalry in the nation. They played it since 1904 before Oklahoma was even a state.
That's
rowdy. We're just going to end it. We're just going to end it because you're butthurt that OU's leaving.
Right.
I think that's just weird. I don't understand.
It's tough, man. I think it's going to backfire. If the goal is to establish yourself as some sort of identity separate from Oklahoma, then you might as well change the name of your school. It's not going to happen.
No, it's not going to happen. What do you think? If you're watching this video or listening, down below, comment, let us know what you think. Should this game continue? Are you okay with this game no longer continuing? What are your thoughts on the Bedlam rivalry dying? Boys, let's get into some OU football news. Brent Venables, Jeff Levy, Ted Roof talk this week, talk to the media. Let us know their thoughts about the previous week and this upcoming week about Kansas State. I'll kind of open up the floor. Anything that stuck out to you. We're going to try to do this a little differently this week. I didn't like how I just rambled through things. I'd rather just kind of open it up for everybody else. I thought Brent had an interesting little quip about how Bill Snyder wrote him a handwritten notes and letters when he was an assistant, and then was texting him before or after the Nebraska game saying, now go get win number 4, essentially. And then an hour later, Bill Snyder texting him and saying, but not this week. He kind of
not against K-State.
Yeah, I forgot against the schedule. So I thought that was kind of funny. Anything else from the coordinators and BV that stuck out to you guys?
So if we're just talking BV, I have 3 or 4, and I think it'd be cool if I could maybe I say one, we talk about it a bit, and then we just run through.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, how's that sound? All right, cool. So the big one is when he started his press conference before he started taking questions was just how impressed he was with the leadership and the mentality on the team. He's quoted as saying, incredibly impressed by the focus and the attitude, going on the road for the first time and playing at 11 a.m. That's a cool thing to point out because that's something we were all worried about, right? And he's aware of those things, and really the team is dialed in, and he can notice that. This is coming from a guy that's been coaching at Clemson. It's championship or bust there. And he's pointing that out again about us. So I thought that was cool. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I love where his head's at. I think this team showed on Saturday that they're not a team of old. They are steady. They believe in what they've been told, what they've been preached to the entire offseason and the entire training camp. They come out, and we said it on Saturday after the game. Yeah, they got punched in the mouth, but there was no panic anywhere on that team. And that's just a different feeling. And that comes from confidence in your coach, confidence in your program, confidence in everything that anyone of authority is telling you. And that's huge for a program like this. Matt?
I think it just comes back when I think about leadership. I know we do like the different captains each week. We still don't really know how that works and all that. But I think ultimately it just comes down to why we brought Dylan Gabriel to the team. We needed that composure. We needed that type of leadership to come in and rally these guys who, again, BB has talked about all year. Half of these guys haven't even played a snap for OU, right? A lot of transfers, a lot of freshmen incoming, a lot of different people coming in to play. And I think DG really brought it all together. And when we needed to drive and we needed to put points on the board, take some pressure off the defense, and he did that on the drive with that 60-yard touchdown, that's exactly what we needed. And then as the game just continued to progress, he just never got rattled. He never got rattled, just kept the offense under control, under tempo, and the team just looked completely different. And when you have an offense, you have a leader like that, it feeds off other people, and you can see it just kind of built on all the different levels
Yep,
of the team itself.
Yeah.
What else you got, Mark?
Totally agree. I Dylan being kind of the spearhead of this whole thing, you wonder who would be filling that spot if it wasn't him, because I don't think there's a quarterback on the roster that could. So it would be some of those position guys.
Yeah.
The next interesting one, it's not really a quote, but without prompting, he goes into a diatribe about special teams. And the question was about complementary football. So the question was offense and defense playing off each other. And his immediate thought is, no, don't forget about special teams. We are kicking ass on that side of the ball. What did y'all think about that?
I mean, you hear him anytime he talks about the team, offense, defense, special teams, offense, defense, special teams. Even Levy and Roof, when you listen to them talk, offense, defense, special teams. It's so important to them. And it's what makes the difference between good teams and great teams, because you rarely win due to special teams, but you can certainly lose. And it's important to be steady and steadfast on that side of the ball. And I'm glad that we have a staff that finds it so important.
The only stat that you guys need to know, we have more punt yards in the first 3 games, or punt return yards, than we do all of last season. And I think that really tells to who was back there catching it and who was returning, and why wasn't Marvin Mims the guy last year at all points. Kickoff returns, most of the time they're going to go beyond the end zone, right? But punt returns, we got some great field position from Marvin Mims making moves in the open field that set up DG for success. If that continues, special teams, like you said, it can really help out an offense and give you good field position. I just thought that was a crazy stat, that more punt yards in 3 games and punt return yards in all of last year. Blows my mind.
Yep. There's a BV quote about just that, where he's talking about special teams, and he's like, schemes, fundamentals, techniques, all those things matter. But at the end of the day, it comes to having a bad case of the once. And I'm not sure our coaching staff had that bad of a case of the once last year. And special teams is a place you can just see it come through. That and 4th down decisions, it's just like, what are you coaching for? So just interesting things to me. One last one. Obviously, y'all know we're leading the league in tackles for losses, right? Or leading the country in tackles for losses. And someone asked Brent about that, and his quote was, "It's not the blitz, the scheme, the movement, as much as it is the fundamentals and precision and timing and pad level, the teaching, blocking schemes and recognitions, timing of these things." And then later he talked about showing the guys why they do what they do, right? Sometimes you have to be the sacrificial lamb on this play because everyone gets to eat if that happens, right? So interesting to me that if you extrapolate just a little bit, he's not even coaching up, scheming up how we're getting these tackles for losses.
No.
He's just saying, hey, play good football.
Yeah.
Play how we taught you how to play football.
Yeah, it's extremely interesting to me. I can't remember if it was Brent or Teddy Lehman or someone I was listening to in the OU world, and they talked about just that about, yeah, these guys who want tackles for loss may not be getting them, but like guys like Jeffrey Johnson or Jonah Lualu have been using their effort to get other people tackles for loss. And
Right.
that doesn't happen everywhere. It sounds like it should, like, right? It's a no-brainer. Everybody plays hard and then eventually everybody eats, but that's not how it works. Like if you know that you're not blitzing that play, you're probably going to take that play a little bit off, whether you want to or not subconsciously. That doesn't happen right now. And that's why they're succeeding so much, because guys who are on the backside of the play are running their butt off to try to get in the play. And it's another point. I rewatched the game, and so many times, man, we talk about the getting the frame, right? Like when the play's over, how many of your guys are in the frame around the ball on the TV screen? Countless times. There's like 8 guys. There's 8 guys in the frame, and the guys who aren't there are because they're downfield in coverage or locking up somebody else. It's amazing to see, Matt.
Yeah, I was just going to say the first 2 drives, obviously the defense looked a little bit lost. They were giving up outside contain, especially the running back that you mentioned, Mark. Very good, but he only got his yards on the first 2 drives. And then after the first 2 drives, they made adjustments. And that's because in the middles, there was nowhere to go. There was no gaps for those running backs. So the only way they could go was outside. And then after you saw BV and the defense make adjustments, because those guys were doing the dirty work in the trenches, that gave the linebackers, that gave the ability to Billy Bowman or Deshaun White to come out of the safety, kind of that nickel cheetah position, whatever you want to call it, to
And rough the passer.
that. And rough the passer to give boy JK7 some time. But you can just see the adjustments. That's because people are doing their gaps. They're filling their assignments so other people's can come in and make tackles. Like you said, they have to sacrifice. They might not be filling up the stat sheet, but that allows someone else to come in and make the play. And that's just team effort right there. That's what you want.
I don't know if you just made that up or if you heard it somewhere, but I really like JK7. It made me just feel things.
I think
I
Mark
said
said it. Yeah,
Did
Mark said
you?
it last
in the
week.
post
Okay.
game? Yeah,
I
because we can't get Kanak or Kanak right. So
No, I know, right?
JK7. It's so easy. It
JK7.
looks cool. I
Yeah.
write it down when I'm taking notes,
Yeah.
and it just it's way cooler.
Yeah, it's dope. It's cool. Anything else from Levy or Roof? Just real quick before we move on. We have a new segment that we're kind of doing that I wanted to get to, but if we had anything else from them to add, kind of a slow week. They don't really. I feel like there's not a lot of questions that are asked about the opponent that week. I feel like it's a whole lot of like recapping the previous week, even though they get post-game press conferences and availability. I don't know why we don't talk about the next opponent, but I mean,
Or just general questions. Like,
yeah, I know.
Hey, tell me about your relationship with Bill Snyder.
Yeah, well, they
Oh,
also asked a
Haven't
question.
heard
About,
that one.
they asked a question about Jay Valai, and I'm like, all right, cool, yeah, Jay's great, but like, what? Why are we talking Jay Valai right now? This is the Big 12 opener. It's like the biggest game on the schedule right now. Like, whatever. Okay, let's.
I
Go
do
ahead,
have a
Mark.
couple of just a Levy thing. Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't zero in on Ted Roof as much. He is I love that guy, but he's a talking, walking coaching cliche.
Yeah, no,
He's been around the block so much that all he knows is the block now.
I know.
And I love it, but it's just it is what it is a little bit, right? So there's one thing that I really love from Jeff Levy's press conference where he said, quote, a bunch of different guys touching the ball makes it a lot harder for the guys across from us. So I was like, hey, let's go look at how many guys got targets in each of these games. And you go and look at it. We're at 7 in the first game, 8 in the second. Hold on, more than that. Oh my God. I'm not even going to go through them all, but we're getting a lot of guys the ball. The most catches anyone has had in a game is Marvin 7. The next highest is 4. We have a ton of dudes getting 3 catches, 2 catches in the game. They're spreading the ball out and they're doing it to different people all along the field. And that's why, like, yeah, sometimes we get frustrated. I know I do. Jalil Farouk is not getting the kind of touches that I thought and wanted him to get. But sometimes that's the game is
Yeah.
we're going to spread the ball out a little bit more and not show looks to teams like Kent State that we're going to need down the line against teams like Baylor, Oklahoma State.
Matt.
No, I love the involvement of the wide receivers, right? It's really just been Marvin Mims. We know he's got to be the guy. So seeing Theo Weiss get a touchdown, see Jalil Farouk get involved, these are playmakers. Like our wide receiver room has some good depth to it, even though Marvin Mims, I think, is on another level, just the way he runs routes and catches. And he's just the guy, right? But you got to have complimentary wide receivers, especially if they are going to double up or put a safety over the top. Theo Jaleel have to make those plays and run the routes to get catches as well. So I'm glad to see we are spreading it out and obviously getting Braden Willis back involved as well, the tight end.
Yeah, I agree. Echo all the points. You guys covered it all.
And then one more is just that the reporter was like, quote, Kansas State hasn't given up just about anything on defense, unquote. And Levy, before he gets into his answer, just smiles real big at the guy. And he didn't say anything. I just was watching it like, oh, I love this. He's so excited. We're going to score 50.
Oh, dude. Yeah. I feel very good about this game. We're about to get to that game in just a second. But first, we're a quarter of the way through the season. Brent Venables mentioned it in his press conference to open it up. So I thought it'd be a little fun for us to go give a little report card-esque sort of thing for the first quarter of the season. We'll go through the position groups. Not going to be super long. I promise we're going to get to the Kansas State game right after this. So let's start with the quarterback room. Dylan Gabriel looks good so far. He was every bit as advertised in the first 3 games. I think if anything you want, we've talked about it, just be a little more accurate, but that's being nitpicky at this point. He hasn't turned the ball over. He's finding a bunch of guys, going through his reads. That's where I'm at.
Overthrows here and there. That's about it. But leading the team, even in a weird adverse situation last week. Good job. Matt, what you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about it. Just a couple plays where he holds on the ball too long, just needs to get rid of it. Of course, you got a couple overthrows, but again, he's not turning the ball over. He's keeping poised. That's what you want to see out of your quarterback. He's not Kyler. He's not Baker. He's not going to go out there and score 60, 70, but hey, he put 50 on the board. That's all you can ask for.
All right, I'm gonna keep score of letter grades. What do we think? Like B for Dylan?
I think a B plus. I think he's not A just because of the sacks and overthrows, but I think he definitely deserves a B plus. The no turnovers thing is a massive upgrade for me.
Big.
So
even if the ceiling hadn't been there, yeah.
Yeah, and while we're doing this, guys, if you're watching, give us your grades for each position group down below. How do you think each position group has been doing? Let us know. Let's go for running backs. It's a 2-horse race, or I don't want to say race, but really you got a 2-headed monster in the backfield between Eric Gray, Marcus Major. Eric Gray had the game of his life last week. Marcus Major has been a little more consistent, I guess you can say. He had
until
a down
last week.
Yeah,
really.
until last week. So, and then we've seen Talwi Walker get the ball, and we saw Javonte Barnes get the ball as well. So we've seen 4 really running backs show themselves, the main 2. I think for me, this group is going to get a B plus as well, because it's hard for me to give them an A just because I would like them to be a little more consistent. A game where Eric and Marcus both have fantastic games is kind of what I'm waiting for to give them an A. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I thought this was the first week that we actually saw Eric's Gray floor, like his ceiling. Sorry, because this is what we've been waiting for. This is why he transferred in from Tennessee. We've been waiting for this kind of game, and this is exactly what we were looking for. And I kind of almost put QB, RB, and offensive line almost in that B plus category, because they all have to do their jobs, right, to take pressure off one another. And it really comes down to the O-line. Are they opening up those gaps? Are they protecting Dylan Gabriel to give him enough time? So I almost give all 3 of those B pluses. I think this game really showed us the potential of what the offense can be. Still a lot of the work to do, but we vastly improved from UTEP, from Kent State, and Nebraska was definitely 2 steps forward, from my opinion, of those 3 position groups.
Yep.
There's a Jeff Lebby quote from the press conference this week about running backs, and he says, you've got to have 3 guys at that position, and I think we've got that. And he's talking about Eric Gray, Marcus Major, and Javonte Barnes. And I'm thinking in my head, man, if you're Gavin Sawchuk or Tawi Walker or Ventavious Thompson or anyone else, you're kind of upset hearing that. But we've seen all three of those guys really produce when they've hit the field at different times. I think I agree with you, Mason. We want to see more than just one guy be the guy in a game. It's awesome if we can have a real Joe Mixon, Samaje Perine kind of grind going and not just ride the hot hand, but have a couple of hot hands.
Yeah.
And we just haven't quite struck lightning in a bottle quite yet there. I'd give these guys a B. I think we've seen some really exciting things, but again, that consistency from everyone all at the same time is not there.
Yeah. It's crazy that they were giving them a B and, they ran for 300 yards last week. But I mean, that's just kind of
high standards.
I know.
We know these guys.
Yeah.
Where I expect a lot.
And let's be clear, Nebraska was not any good on the defensive side of the ball. So let's move on to the wide receivers. Wide receiver room. I think this group we said it in the preseason, they're the most talented group, and I think they've shown that. I continue to give them credit. I'm going to give them an A-. I think they look the best. Marvin Mims, I've said it a million times. I'll say it again. He's the best player on the field when he's on the field. So he's been fantastic. Drake Stoops, I talked some crap on him to begin the season. He's played very well. And Jalil Farouk last game showed what he's capable of. So, and Theo Weiss as well. Theo Weiss continues to prove that he can improve on what he's done in his previous 3 years at OU. So I think for that group, an A- is fair.
Yeah, I agree as well. I think kind of like what Mark said with the running backs, I think you got to have at least 3, 4, 5 guys deep at the wide receiver position. And I know I mentioned Theo Weiss and Jaleel and Marvin, but Drake Stoops has been steady Eddie. He's reliable hands. When he gets thrown the ball, he makes plays. He's had a couple good ones when we needed them. So I think overall in depth of the wide receiver group, I would definitely agree. I think they've been one of the better performing positions that we've seen so far.
I feel Drake's, sorry, Mark, before this, when I was not on the Drake Stoops quote unquote bandwagon to begin the season, I think something that I wanted to see more of him was after the catch. I feel like Drake was a very big possession guy. He'd thrown the ball and he made the catch every time, but he just go down. I feel like he's vastly improved on his yak yardage after the catch, making plays. And that's why I think Drake Stoops has improved so much just in a short amount of time.
I love what I've seen out of Marvin Mims. I really love what I've seen out of Theo Weiss. I think he's come back and shown us a lot of the things he showed us as a sophomore, but just has a man's body now and is a different kind of physical build. It makes you think, what if Trajan Bridges and Jaden Hazelwood had this coaching staff too, and this strength and conditioning too? And I'm going down a rabbit hole, but everyone has shown us on this receiving core kind of the things they're capable of at different points. It is kind of like the running backs, like you said, Matt. Jaleel had a great game last week, but has kind of been iffy before that. He's dropped a few balls that I haven't really liked to see. I'm going to give him a B+. I'm a little harder than you on it, I guess. I want a lot more out of Jaleel than I've seen.
Yeah.
And that's really it. Marvin, Drake, and Theo have done what they can in the spots they've gotten. I would think they'd all have more catches than they do now, or besides Marvin, but that's where I'm at.
All right, let's move a little quicker to the tight ends now.
Sorry, it's me.
No, it's not. I mean, we're all going deep into it. For the tight ends, I think this is a B- group. Love to see more out of Daniel Parker, but I realize he was injured and he's coming back. That's fine. But after the first game, Braden Willis kind of fell off against Kent State, came back, threw the touchdown pass against Nebraska, obviously, but just want to see more out of this group. So B- for me.
Yeah, B for me.
Go ahead, Mark.
B for me. We've seen a couple of great games out of Braden Willis. Daniel Parker has looked good, but we also had that weird Kent State Braden Willis game, and that's that. You know what? Let me go B+. We've seen a lot of big blocking out of Braden Willis,
Yeah.
and love to see that. B plus, maybe even A minus. I gotta rethink this, but B plus.
Okay.
Yeah,
Matt?
Mark, that was the point I was going to make was B plus. I think, yeah, as the catching, receiving been, a little bit inconsistent, yes, but the blocking has absolutely been there, especially for Braden Willis. I know we talked about it earlier in the year. He needed to step up and show us, and he was making some massive blocks for the team during Nebraska. And obviously having Daniel Parker, freak of a build, the blocking has been superb. So that's why I would push him up to B plus.
I'm going C. I'm going C plus for the offensive line. I think they could be better, and a lot of that has to do with they're still moving pieces around. They just got Wanya Morris back last week, but he also split time with Tyler Guyton. So they're still trying to figure out who's playing where and how consistently they're going to play there. That's why I give them a C plus.
I'm going C. I think it's just been too inconsistent, and last game was a step in the right direction after the first drive or two, but we haven't seen this group at its full yet, and it'll be good to see us progress as we enter Big 12 play.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with all the points. I think Bill Beambo is still trying to figure out who's going to be our starting five, especially with Wanye being suspended, Guyton stepping up to the plate in his absent. So it's really going to come down to who's going to step up. But yeah, we just haven't seen the full potential of this group yet.
All right, cool. Defensive line. This is a group for me. I think they've played fantastic. All those guys, Jonah Laulu. I hope I'm saying his freaking name right. I feel like I'm not.
Laulu?
Laulu. Okay.
I don't know.
Reggie Grimes, Jeffrey Johnson, Jalen Redmond. All those guys have just looked really, really good on the defensive line. So give me an A for them.
A. They've looked awesome.
Yeah, I would almost group the D line and linebackers as A for me. I think just getting consistent pressure. And you mentioned last week, we still lead the nation tackles for loss, top 5 in sacks, like Ryan Tyson predicted, right?
Yep.
We're on the pace to break, which I think he said 50. I think we're way over pace at this point. They just continue to get pressure. They continue to make big plays. They're the most consistent group, I think, or at least those two groups in combination. They're just working very well together.
I think the linebackers, they're a group that's a A minus for me, mostly because Brent knows how much they can improve. Guys like Jaron Kanak, who he said doesn't even know how to play linebacker yet. So I think
funny.
And Danny Stutzman, David Ogwebu have looked fantastic. Obviously, I think that group is really good, but it makes me feel better that Brent says they can get even better. So that's why I'm giving them an A minus.
Man, this one's tough. Matt, you go.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of talked about it. I agree that it's going to be AA minus. I don't think they've played to their full potential. I think they're still trying to figure out the rotation, especially like when Mark said, Deshaun White, maybe that was the best thing for JK7 last week. He's only going to get more playing time. So we're just going to see a little bit different rotation in that linebacker group, or maybe JK plays the more of that cheetah position, as we call it, because he's just a freak of an athlete. So it's kind of hard to know where exactly to put him. But yeah, there's only more potential for this group, and they've already played tremendously and consistently well.
I think we're going A plus. Stutzman has looked incredible. He's been the MVP of like 2 games so far. David Ogwebu has been a thumper, but more than that. And if we're counting Deshaun White and Justin Harrington, JK7 as linebackers, then I think all of them have played better than I expected also. So A plus for our linebackers. They all look good, doing everything, whether they're going after the quarterback, dropping back in coverage, stopping the run. Everyone's filling their gaps, playing well. A plus.
For the secondary, the defensive backs, I'm going a B minus. They've performed well. They just haven't wowed me. I think there's a lot of times that because they play off coverage, they don't close on the ball very well. And that may just be due for how far off the ball they have been. I didn't like the way they looked against Kent State. Thought they looked better against Nebraska, obviously. So I think they're a B minus with a lot of room to improve. And I think they will. I think they've shown that they can improve.
Yeah, a lot of people got in a lot of different time. They're still trying to figure it out. Just like the offensive line, they're doing a rotation to see who's going to be that guy next to Woody Washington, Billy Bowman, Key Lawrence. So still trying to figure out the other cornerback on the other side. And again, game script is going to be more zone coverage, especially when we get up early on, Kent State in the second half or the UTEP game. So we just haven't seen, again, the full potential of this group, but still is just the most worrisome group or position group right now, just based on the play that I've seen. And we saw it the first drive in the Nebraska game. I mean, I think it was Harmon or Harrington. I don't know whoever gave up the big play. I mean, they just looked absolutely lost. So we just can't have that happening on the back end and give up those explosive plays.
Pretty sure it was Damon Harmon because I think I was cursing his name. But that's just me. Mark?
I'm going to go B+. They're learning a complex system. We've raved about Billy Bowman. Key Lawrence forced a key, pun intended, turnover last week and has generally played very well for us. Woody Washington is a model of consistency at corner. And yeah, there's a little bit of a turnstile over on the other side, seeing who's gonna pan out there. But I'm not sure that's the worst thing against UTEP, Kent State, and Nebraska. I made sure of it, played a different look last week than they did the 2 weeks prior to that with their DBs. And that's something that's not easy to do. It's a completely different scheme. They're all playing new positions and everyone looked really good doing it. So B+ for me. Billy Bowman, A+++.
Yeah, he's been fantastic. Real quick, we'll be quick on this. I wanted to pose this question to you guys. Is this a playoff team in its current form? Don't have to go into greater detail. Just a yes or no answer will suffice. For me, yeah.
No, but
I'm not asking you if they're going to win a game. I'm just saying, are they a playoff team in this current form? And Mark, I interrupted you.
No, but they will be. They're just, this team doesn't get us there. This team doesn't win a Big 12 championship game, but it's the team that'll be ready for it.
I would say yes, based on what I've seen so far, and other teams just haven't proven so. It's really just Georgia and everybody else. So 2, 3, 4,
Agree with that.
Could be a crapshoot.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to Kansas State. Kansas State preview time. Who's ready for the Wildcats? They're coming in to Norman, 2-1 off a 17-10 loss to Tulane in Manhattan last week. A shocking loss to the Green Wave. What have we seen out of Kansas State that sticks out to you guys? Obviously, their offense is going to run through Deuce Vaughn. He gets all the carries. He was their leading receiver last week in terms of receptions. He had 8 catches. The next highest guy, I want to get this correct.
That's more catches than anyone in any of our games has had all year.
Yeah, their next leading receiver had 5 catches. So they feed Deuce the ball as much as they possibly can. And I think that the focus on this game is going to be OU needs to stop the run and make Adrian Martinez beat you. Because if that's the game you play, you win that game 9 times out of 10.
I agree with that. And it's also interesting because you look up a little bit about Kansas State doing your research, right? And there's some not too good quotes about Adrian Martinez from Chris Kleiman, the head coach there at Kansas State. There are things like, quote, "We got to get him to cut it loose and be free. If he makes a mistake, then he makes a mistake." That's tough. You don't want to hear that. You don't want to be the guy that won't chuck it when your team needs you to chuck it. And I'm not sure he's someone look, I'm getting cocky, right? I'm getting a little bit cocky. But if you can take care of Deuce Vaughn, if you can minimize his impact on the game, then I agree with you. You put it in the hands of Adrian Martinez, and he had trouble against Tulane. He scored 10 points against Tulane.
Yeah.
That's Oklahoma 2021 kind of stuff. So I don't think there's much to worry about past Deuce Vaughn. That's a tough thing to say, but I truly think that's the case.
And look, Deuce Vaughn is averaging over 100 yards a game. So he gets the ball and he gets it a lot. Matt, go ahead.
It's all about the running game for Kansas State. Deuce Vaughn, he had 24 carries the game before against Missouri, 24 carries, 145. Tulane, 20 carries for 81 yards. So they're going to give him the ball. But the one thing I'm worried about, just like in the Kent State game, was the mobility of the quarterback. And we saw some problems when they did the RPO kind of action. And Sleeb, the quarterback, or Sleevey, what I don't know, you know me. Schlee, whatever. You know me, bad with names. Got away with some of those runs. And even though Deuce Vaughn had all those 20 plus carries in those games, Adrian Martinez in the Tulane game, 13 carries, 60 yards, and he also had 13 carries for 52 yards. So not a great average, but at least he's, if he's not going to throw it, he's going to put the ball and he's going to get yardage the way he can. So we had some problems against Kent State. That's going to be the problem we're going to face. Can we stop the rushing attack of Adrian Martinez and Deuce Vaughn? I'm not too worried about Adrian Martinez throwing the football, as we just heard from Mark. So if we can stop the run, bottle it up, I don't think this will be a very much problem game. But the rushing attack is something I am worried about.
Yeah, to be clear, Deuce Vaughn is the most dynamic player in the Big 12 offensively. He is a stud. So for me to assume we'll take care of him is not a wise assumption, but I just gave linebackers an A+. So here's your first big test, guys.
That's fair. Sorry, I was looking up stats here. Okay, so for me, Adrian Martinez, let's just say it out loud. He doesn't look that good. They don't look that good offensively. I think if you're able to score 28 points in this game, you win the game. That's what I think, and that's my way of segueing to this offense. I'm looking for Kansas State's ranking in defense. Someone else go. What do you see from this Kansas State defense that OU can exploit?
Matt?
Yeah, I mean, the defense is holding their opponents to pretty low, right? They played San Diego, they won 34-0. They played Missouri, won 40-12. And I mean, Tulane was a low scoring game, was 17-10. So their defense is definitely keeping them involved, but there's still yards to be played. I mean, they're still giving up over 300 plus yards of offense to these teams, but there seems like more of a bend, don't break offense, right? Or bend, don't break defense. Sorry, I should apologize. So people are exploiting them down the road, but then they buffer up towards the red zone and they're not giving up a lot of points. Now, have they played a truly good offense? Have they seen OU's dynamic offense yet? No, but it'll still be a test because there's still, we saw that we can get stopped too. Kent State, UTEP, Nebraska showed it on the first couple of drives. So it'll be interesting to see how they can handle it, but still giving up a lot of yards. It's not a lot of points.
Yeah. South Dakota, Missouri, and Tulane, the teams they played so far, they shut out South Dakota, allowed 12 points to Missouri, and obviously 17 to Tulane last week. I think their defense is their strength. I think they look good right now. They're ranked 20th in the nation in total defense as it stands right now, allowing 276 yards a game. They've only allowed 3 touchdowns total. You got to hit them in the mouth. I think with a team like this, what we've seen in the past, OU dances around Kansas State and doesn't hit them in the mouth with the running game, and that's when they get in trouble. That's what Lincoln Riley avoided. He thought he could throw it all over the field, and Kansas State is just too fundamentally sound. They're not going to let you do that. They're a bend, don't break sort of defense. I think this game is huge for Eric Gray and Marcus Major. We just talked about how they both haven't had a game where they've been at their best. I think this game, they need to show us that they both can do it, because there's going to be times where Eric Gray's tired and needs a breather. And there's times where Marcus is going to need Eric to carry the load. It's going to be important for both of those guys to step up.
So looking at the teams that Kansas State has played, I'm not impressed by any of them. I think Missouri might just be a dumpster fire. Maybe that guy's a fraud. I'm not sure. Not for me to say. I'm not an SEC journalist yet, but I'm not convinced that the defense is really going to be that good, because nothing about the South Dakota, Missouri, or Tulane offenses really tell me that they were powerhouses of their own. So I'll be excited to see, like you said, Mason, Eric and Marcus, can they just power through these guys? Because they have so far. And one would presume that our offensive line is going to gel a little bit better after a week of having Wanye back. Passing wise, Marvin is Marvin. You expect him to be great. Dylan is Dylan. You expect him to do everything right. And who else can step up in this game? Because it seems like someone else scores a touchdown or two and Marvin gets his. Who's it going to be this team?
Yeah.
And can Javante Barnes do a little okay, I'll just cards on the table. I think we're going to win by like 35 points. I think we're going to win by a lot. I think that the attitude of this team is one that doesn't come out and dance around with teams, especially at home. There's a different kind of atmosphere now. It's a night game. I love it. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be yelling. And I think the team is going to be, they're built to play different now than we did last year. The last freaking 6 years.
Yeah. I tend to kind of agree with you. I think this game is going to be a little more lopsided than we've seen in the past because, like I said, I don't think this Brent Venables team comes out and messes around for 4 quarters. They're going to, if they get up by 2 scores, watch for OU to step on their neck.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's when they start to really clamp down and go for the kill shot. I think you're right. I tend to lean more towards a 20 to 30 point victory than I do 4 3-point victory in a close eke out win. Matt?
It's just hard to say. They've been a thorn in our sides, whether we're
They
playing
have.
in Manhattan or we're playing in Norman, right? Like you said, the last 4, 5, 6 years have come down to 1 or 2 score games, and it's been a lot closer. And the Kansas State team, have they been great? No, but they just have kind of had our number. They've just kind of figured it out. And hopefully, like you said, Mark, the attitude of this team is just different, where we just want to absolutely punch them in the mouth instead of, I feel like we almost show them to respect. Yeah, are they a classy school for sure? Bill Snyder, just the way they run things and all that as well. I just want to see them punch them in the mouth and, like you said, win by 20 plus points instead of having these close games.
That'd be great. What do you think down below? Let us know. What do you think OU needs to do to win this game? How big do you think they will win? Do you think OU will lose to Kansas State? Let us know down below in the comments section. Guys, one big thing that we're looking for this week, I'll start with you, Mark.
The one big thing I'm looking for is the offensive line. I think I said it last week, and I gave them the lowest grade I just gave anyone just now. Let's see that group continue to gel. Let's see them continue to put it together, and let's not see Dylan Gabriel on his back quite so much. Now, that's not all on the line. It's not. We've gone over a lot of the dynamics at play there, but I want to see the offensive line come together. They need to.
For me, it's the linebackers. The linebackers are going to be the most important unit in this game because they're going to be responsible for stopping Deuce Vaughn. In coverage, they're going to be the guys on Deuce coming out of the backfield. They're going to be the guys in the second level trying to stop him from getting big runs. Danny Stutzman, David Oguebu, JK7, all those guys are going to be so important to stopping basically the only thing that Kansas State can do, and that's give Deuce Vaughn the ball. So if you stop that, you win the game easily. That's why the linebackers are so important for me, and that's why I think they're the main people that I'm watching to perform on Saturday. Matt?
Yeah, something similar is just stopping the run game, especially Adrian Martinez, right? Duvant, like you said, Mark, he's the most dynamic running back in the Big 12, probably the best offensive player other than maybe Marvin himself. But he's going to get his carries no matter what. They're going to hand him the ball 20 plus times. I guarantee it.
Yeah, they live and die with him. They have to.
Right. And again, Adrian Martinez are probably going to run that run pass option or run that RPO. Can we get penetration? Can we get some more tackles for loss, some more sacks in the backfield? That will help out if we can just stop the run game. That's all that's important in this game.
Love it. What are you looking for?
I'm willing to bet we get more than 5 tackles for loss this game.
I think you're probably right. Let us know down below what you're looking for. What's the one big thing you're looking for in this game? Let's move on to our college football pick'em segment. A look at some of the biggest national games from around the country coming up this week. I want to give a shout out to, we have a new leader in the pick'em standings.
Frat Loops knocked off.
It is Matthew Morris. Takes the top spot away from Frat Loops, who led it for the first 2 weeks. Congratulations to Matthew Morris, who is our leader right now. let's go ahead and we'll pick some games, guys. We'll start off with Clemson, a 7.5 point favorite on the road against number 21 Wake Forest. Who you got?
I'm taking the points with Wake Forest. The 7.5 is just a little too juicy. I don't like really what I've seen out of DJ. Obviously, Clemson has the horses. They've got the guys. They've got the athletes. But Wake Forest is undefeated and they're at home. So let's see if they can keep it within tutty.
Man, I don't believe in Clemson at all. And I think that 7.5 number is way too big on the road against a Wake Forest team, like you said, that's undefeated and playing very well right now. Give me Wake Forest to cover. Matt, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to take Clemson. I think Wake Forest looked really bad last week. I think they played Liberty, if I'm not mistaken. And Liberty almost won that game. I think they went for the 2-point conversion or something. I can't remember, but very close game. Am I right, Mark? Not right?
Star head coach Hugh Freeze on the
Win.
Liberty side. You can't underestimate.
Yeah, I just don't think they have anything. I think Clemson's defense is going to clamp them down. 7 points seems like a lot for Clemson's offense, but I just think 7 points a touchdown. I'm going to take Clemson on this one on the road.
Good stuff, baby.
All right, love it.
Love when we disagree.
Move on to number 20, Florida, on the road at Tennessee. Tennessee, 9.5 point favorite. That number's too big for me, man. I don't think Florida is that team that we saw in week 1. I don't think they're that good, but I don't think they're 9.5 points worse than Tennessee. I'm not super impressed with Tennessee in this moment in time. I think they're a good football team, but this is a big time rivalry game. Florida and Tennessee always play each other tough. Give me Florida to cover 9.5. Matt?
If only Patrick was here to defend himself. But psych, I'm actually going with the Volunteers on this one. This is the first road game for Florida. I think they've been playing in the swamp all 3 games, I'm pretty sure. Tennessee's offense looks really good. They're high tempo, just kind of like similar to ours. And the hooker, the quarterback, all he does is score touchdowns. He does not turn the ball over. 9.5 does seem like a lot of points, but at home, that crowd, OU's been there. We've had to play it. I think they're totally just going to run over the Gators and really going to show the Gators being put frauds with an F on this one. So I'm going the Vols. So Patrick, if you're hearing me, I love you, bud.
Compelling case. I'm still going Gators plus 9.5. I think Anthony Richardson is built for it. I think he's that guy. This will be a good test, though. I agree with that. We know from experience that Tennessee is not a very fun place to play. This game is at 2:30 p.m. It's going to be hot, and you wonder if Tennessee scores a couple quick. Does Florida still have it in them after that? But I believe Anthony Richardson keeps it close the whole way, and maybe Tennessee wins. But Florida's going to
Anthony Richardson, who hasn't thrown a touchdown but has thrown 4 picks in the first 3 games. That guy, that's the guy you're talking about.
He's dynamic.
And then Hooker with over 800 yards, 6 touchdowns, no turnovers.
Yes.
Ooh, hot take by you
That
boys on this one. Richardson, not a single touchdown. Ooh.
All right, let's
give me the balls,
on.
baby.
Did you see that play with the spin move, though?
Play with the spin move. All right,
cool.
Indiana on the road against Cincinnati. Cincinnati, 14.5 point favorite at home. Give me the Hoosiers to cover. Again, I think the number's too big. And I saw Cincinnati. I watched their game when they played Arkansas. I'm just not impressed. To a 14.5 point favorite. Indiana's undefeated. I don't know who they play. I can't tell you that, but they're 3-0. That's got to count for something. 14.5 points? No way. Give me Indiana.
So I'm going to give you names, and I want you. So these are the leaders in passing yardage, rushing yardage, and receiving yardage for Indiana. Okay, in some order, and you're going to tell me who's who.
Oh God!
Right? There is a
Who's
Sean Shivers. There is a Cam Camper, and there is a Connor Basilak. Who's who?
Basilak's got to be the quarterback.
Oh, you know your stuff.
Yeah, Shivers is the running back.
Shivers was one of the names.
Yeah, Shivers is a running back, and Camper is the other one. Oh,
Camper
did I
is
say
still
running
wide
back?
receiver.
Yeah,
there?
you did. You just gave. I was
Yeah!
gonna guess running back because Shivers. I'm like, that's a running back's name.
It's a running
And then
back name,
obviously
right?
the other guy's a wide receiver.
Yeah, I'm just not as sold on these guys. And Cincinnati was a playoff team last year. They're 2-1 now. That defense is still strong. I mean, obviously they lost to Arkansas, but if you listen to the Program Guys podcast, that host so freaking loves Arkansas that
I
I'm
do.
kind of sold on them, man.
Matt,
So yeah, give me Cincinnati.
Cincinnati 14 and a half.
So Indiana's played Western Kentucky, Idaho, and Illinois. So not very confident in their abilities. I like Cincinnati. I like their quarterback, Brian. I think he's proven, even in that Arkansas game, I think he looked pretty good. Again, it's not the Cincinnati team of last year. Let's just get that straight, right? They've lost a lot of players, and future Hall of Famer, Atlanta Falcon quarterback, Desmond Ridder, is no longer there, right? So, but Brian's still good backup. I believe them at home. I think they're going to come out. Indiana hasn't played anybody. I'll take Cincy.
All right. Oregon 6.5. So 6.5 point favorite on the road against undefeated Washington State. Oregon number 15 after a demolishing of BYU last week. Give me Oregon to cover 6.5. I think Oregon's starting to figure things out. And I just don't know if I believe in Washington State because I couldn't tell you anything about them, but I can tell you stuff about Oregon. So give me Oregon to cover 6.5.
Yeah, I got to be honest. My knowledge of college football almost kind of stops around the West Coast. Like all those teams sort of are the same to me. That said, I've seen enough Pac-12 at night to know that Washington State is not a fun place to play. And they're undefeated too. 6.5 points at home feels juicy. So I'm just going to take it and close my eyes.
Man.
Yeah, this one's tough. I mean, they beat Wisconsin at Camp Randall, 17-14, right? So that's a massive win over a powerhouse football team, right? A Big 12 or a Big 10 powerhouse football team. 6.5, even though Oregon did look pretty good against BYU. I'm not sure where BYU actually ranks. So I'm going to take Washington State to cover, even though Oregon did look pretty good. But Washington they got a ranked win. So I got to go with what they've done so far.
All right, just a couple more. Ohio State, 18.5 point favorite at home against Wisconsin. God, that 18.5 is so big. Makes me so nervous. I just don't know. I'm taking Ohio State. I'm taking Ohio State to cover 18.5.
Don't be nervous, baby.
Yeah, I'm not.
Ohio
not
State all day. CJ Stroud. They are finally getting it together.
Yeah.
Wisconsin looks like they're lost.
I
just mentioned, they just lost to Washington State at home.
The thing that I got to think about is Ohio State's going to score 40 points. Do I think that Wisconsin can score 22? No, I don't. I just don't.
I just sat here and changed my vote to Ohio State. You guys convinced me. I was looking at it and I was like, man, Wisconsin, you know what they do? They come in, they run the football, they stop you. And then you're like, yeah, but CJ Stroud has Trevion Henderson and Jackson Smith and Jigba and Marvin Harrison Jr. and name your guy.
Yep.
And they're probably going to score 3 touchdowns immediately. So, yeah. All right, Ohio State. Begrudgingly.
Yeah. All right, last one. Number 7, USC on the road against Oregon State.
That's the last one.
I know. USC, 7.5 point favorite against Oregon State. Both teams undefeated. Give me USC to cover. I think they're the better team than Oregon State, and I don't think this is where USC starts to get nervous in Pac-12 play. So go ahead and give me USC.
Boy, I think it's just too much firepower at the end of the day. Oregon State hasn't played anybody, and we all know that it's Caleb Williams, it's the running back, and it's Jordan Addison, the transfer from Pittsburgh. I just think, just like Ohio State, maybe not the same level, but just too much offensive firepower. And that seems a little bit low. I'm actually surprised it's only a touchdown and a half.
So you guys remember back when Lincoln Riley was our head coach, how usually more than once in a season, we would have games where you look up at the end of the first quarter and you're somehow down 14-3, or it's halftime and it's 21-10 and you're on the wrong side of it. I think the Beavers could be Lincoln Riley's K-State, if that analogy works for you.
Yeah, it does.
I think that this guy doesn't fully prepare for all of these games. He has the best skill players in football, and that's all he thinks he needs. That and a little clever coaching, and that's all it's going to take. And the Beavers are going to build a dam, and they're not going to let the water flow.
Love.
Give me Oregon State and the under.
And the under, a little twofer for the people, Mark says. A twofer for the people. All right, let us know down below who you picking in those games. Also, if you're in our college football pick'em, make sure to make your picks before Saturday. We'll update the standings each week as we move on. All right, Matt Gann, real quick, circle the wagons. The quickest circle the wagons you've ever done in your life. Let's do it.
Quickest one. Just give you some quick updates. OU's women's soccer having one of their best seasons so far. Currently 5-2-2. Emma Hawkins is on fire for the Sooners. 5 goals in her last 6. Hopefully that only continues. Great to start to the year. Patrick, you called it, baby. Let them keep going.
Do you think they heard from Patrick on that?
I think they did. I think they heard him.
Interesting stuff. Yeah,
we'll see. Well, hopefully they continue with their great season so far. Patty Gasso gets paid. She is now the highest paid college softball coach, $1.625 million per year. That was approved by the OU Board of Regents just last week. And they also got a pretty good recruit as well, Oklahoma recruit. I forgot what her ranking, but she's a shortstop. So the Sooners just keep adding. That's 3 commits in the last week. OU's men's golf is playing at Inverness Intercollegiate Tourney, hosted by Toledo, Ohio. Not sure who the teams that are playing. I haven't seen the list yet, so I'll keep an eye out for who they will play on Monday and Tuesday upcoming. OU volleyball, really the surprise story, I think, so far this year. They just continue to dominate, beating Texas Southern and Nevada. Get out the brooms again. 3-0 for both of those games. They are just absolutely dominating people in their non-conference schedule. They are currently, I believe, 10-2, I believe, overall as they head into conference play. Their first game, the Lady Longhorns, who are currently number 1. So that will be the true test for the women upcoming this weekend. We'll see how it goes, but all these programs doing great so far. We'll see how it goes. That is the Circle the Wagons update.
Love it. Thank you, Matt. Let's move on to our PGP MVPs of the week. We'll wrap up the show. Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, I was majorly impressed with the Nebraska crowd last week. Dari said something about it on our podcast last week. If you didn't go listen to our interview with Dari, go listen to our interview with Dari Noka. He works on TV. How cool. And that group, man, 90,000 strong for a team that they knew was not going to be good and they knew was going to get pummeled, and they stayed for most of the game. I can't say that our crowd would have always done the same, even as recently as 2 weeks ago. Yeah. So, my MVP for the week is that Nebraska crowd. That's a tough position to be in, and they really showed out.
Love it. Matt?
Yeah, I know we got 2 NFL quarterbacks this week as MVPs. I got to go with the most handsome quarterback of all, Jimmy G. This guy has been through it all off season. Everyone just put him to the side. It's Trey Lance this, it's Trey Lance that. And they picked him for a reason. Unfortunately, he gets hurt in the first quarter of their game. He goes down with a season injury. And everyone's like, well, why don't we pay Jimmy G the highest amount for a backup quarterback? Well, this is why. And he's got certain incentives where if he plays more than 25% of the snaps in any game, he gets $250,000. If they win, he gets another $100,000. This man came in and got $350,000 this weekend after beating the Seattle Seahawks, and he's only going to continue to get those incentives. So this man is going to be making that moolah for a backup quarterback. It's got to go the most handsome quarterback in the league this week, Jimmy G.
Love it. My MVP of the week, Tua Tagovailoa, over 460 yards passing, 6 touchdowns, ties the Miami Dolphins record in a single game with Dan Marino and Brian Griese. He led the Miami Dolphins back from 21 points down in the fourth quarter. Comes back, those 2 touchdowns to Tyreek Hill, a touchdown to River Craycraft, and the winning touchdown to Jalen Waddle to beat the Baltimore Ravens on the road, a place where Miami hasn't won since the 1990s. They beat the Ravens. They're 2-0 at the top of the division with the Buffalo Bills. Game coming up next or this Sunday against the Buffalo Bills. I'm super excited for it. Really going to see what this team's made of. Tua Tagovailoa was told all offseason how he wasn't the guy, can't throw deep, leads the league in passing yardage.
I feel like all we did was hear how great Tua looked, and Tyreek put him on pedestal after pedestal all offseason.
We heard that from Tyreek, but from the media, you heard that he wasn't that guy. And he can't throw deep, and he has a noodle arm. Colin Cowherd is still saying it. Somehow. I have no idea how you can watch that game against the Ravens and be like, yeah, the dude still can't throw deep. It's literally wild. I don't understand it. But whatever. Tua Tagovailoa, my MVP of the week.
2 receivers with the highest reception yards, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle.
That's right. There you go. Love it. Let us know down below who your MVP of the week is. As always, thank you for listening and watching.
Hey, wait, I didn't get to do the must watch where I read from the TV guide section.
Oh, man. Sorry, Mark.
Oh,
darn it.
Don't have the time.
Also, the last MVP I forgot to mention. The program guys MVP of the week is you, our listeners and our subscribers. 80 plus subscribers in the last week. Thank you so much. Trying to get to 1,000 subs by the end of the year. Getting close. Trying to break 900 this week. Keep this train rolling. Share this episode with 5 of your friends. Tell them to subscribe. We appreciate the support as always. Be sure to like and subscribe on our YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter at Program Guys with a Z, Instagram Program Guys with a Z, Facebook Program Guys Podcast. However you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. That's where you can find us. Sooners taking on Kansas State 3-0 on Saturday in the evening. Ryan will get to see the light show. I bet he's ecstatic.
Oh my God.
He's so pumped up. So is Patrick probably. Matt, take us out.
Keep losing, baby.